Welcome. I'm Bonnie Morris.
And I'm Michael Robbins, and we are the producing directors of the Illusion Theater. We have been creating new works for the last 46 years, and we're very proud to bring you Fresh Ink this year on a virtual platform. Our mission is to create theater that illuminates the myths and realities of our times.
This year is unlike any other. We've been separated, masked, and distanced because of the virus. Over 2 months ago, we witnessed the murder of George Floyd by the police on the streets of Minneapolis. The marches began here and went around the world, calling for change and justice.
And so this year, to do this special event, we put together a group of artists, T. Michael Rambo, Carlisle Brown, Bonnie and myself, and videographer and editor Fred Chang, to present this evening to you. We reached out to artists who have worked with Illusion from across the country and asked them to respond to this moment.
How do we make sense? How do we take in what's happened in this moment? We know theater has the power to transform and to change. We invite you to listen.
In order to ask the question, where am I in this moment? This body of work, how I arrived, I have to start at the beginning. 3 decades ago, here at Cape Coast Castle, then a decaying and aged mammoth of decrepitude whose mossy walls unapologetically stood on the shores of the Gulf of Guinea. It was here that I agreed to be a conduit. This door, this portal, dare to cross the threshold. 1 step down, 2 steps down, 3rd step, earth. Dirt, packed down over a period of forever. The soles of my feet only separated from earth by very, very cheap flip-flops. Round the bend, descend, light as I knew it, fading away never to return. Earth, humidity, the smell of ancient mildewy concrete, black moss, mold, deafening silence. I feel them, astonished and famished, unnaturally suffocating in that eternal abyss. Take your shoes off. Be with us, they beckoned, as they curiously probed my every pore. I cannot, I feebly replied. I will not, but I promise I will testify and tell everyone I can that you are here, perhaps trapped in this moment forever. It is here where the journey of actively listening to the wind began, intuitively attempting to shepherd a sacred channel for those souls to have passageway out of the darkness into illumination. These spirits, they monitor, mentor, and push me to extol the timeless tale of the journey of now. This moment, this time, this moment being a complete amalgamation of all that came before, necessitating a responsibility to effectively convey sage permutations toward an unknowable but majestic future. There is utmost joy in the doing of this. those of us who lingered in the world, seduced by the annunciation of wonderful events, went through life with beautiful and faded eyes, carrying within us the music of a lovely and tragic mythology. Our mouths utter obscure prophecies. Our minds are invaded by images of the future. We are the strange ones, with half our beings always in the spirit world. And so, with a perfunctory acknowledgement of the massive macrocosmos churning all around me, I endeavor to tune my antenna inward, to be vigilant in chronicling the unspoken voices of our not-so-distant past, to be something those whose shoulders I stand on only envisioned in their wildest dreams, to combat and subdue injustice with the wisdom of the ancients. The ongoing question is how to proceed forward. What do we do with this amazing responsibility, this purchased gift of life? Right now, in this moment, because they are listening, those who have borne the weight of yesterday. They are listening, those who are yet to come.
Go out and tell a story, let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you, make them hear you, and tell them in our battle how justice was denied. Make them hear you, make them hear you, and say to those who blame us for the way we chose to fight, that somehow there are battles that are more than black or white. And I will not put down my sword when justice was my right. Make them hear, make them make them hear you, make them hear you, and tell them in our struggle we were not the only ones. Make them hear you, make them hear you. Your sword can be your servant, or the power of the pen. Teach every child to raise her voice, and then, my brothers, then will justice be demanded by 10 million righteous men. Make them hear you. When they hear you, I'll be near you again.
I'm your fairy god auntie, and this is a note I'm tucking in your bag. Remember, this is just one part of the story. A hard part, a scary part, but one part. The part of the story where we are murdered again by the police, and the fires burn, and parts of us burn with them. A hard part, scary part, a part that hurts, but just one part. If you're confused, that's perfect. This is a part of the story when we learn about confusion, about being frozen and not knowing what to do next. We learn right now that there's no right way to be in a hard moment. If you're scared, you're right on time. This is the part when we learn a lot about fear. We remember other times we feared and what happened after the fear. Every time you have feared before is helping you survive right now, even if it doesn't feel like it. If you can't focus on or finish anything, this is the part for that. And if you aren't sleeping, don't worry, this is the part for that too. In the space carved by the things you think you should be doing, there is a very sturdy, very safe you, growing untethered to any you you've ever known. Don't be scared of this. Because more than anything, this is a part of the story when we change. We become different than we ever have been before, and we learn that that is a safe thing to do. It's a part of the story for saying aloud what's been sitting in our throats for ages, the part for knowing what we've always been afraid to know, and knowing it even though we're scared. It's the part of the story when we change knowing from something that happens in the head to something that happens in your whole body. When you listen to your intuition, you are listening to all the voices of all your ancestors who live in you, and you strengthen that message for all your descendants. This is the part of the story that teaches us that love is the superpower that helps us remember that hurt people, while also allowing us to shout at the tops of our lungs for justice. Remember, we are in the same story as all who came before us. The ones who were kidnapped, the ones who jumped to join the whales, the ones who picked up their feet and flew themselves back over the sea, and the ones who stayed to love this land. And after this part, there will be other parts. No one knows what they will be for, but what you spend time imagining now will affect what happens later. So what would you like to imagine? What is the best possible thing that could happen next? What should the next part of the story be for?
In this moment, James Baldwin reminds us that everything we face cannot be changed, but nothing can be changed until we face it. We must confront all the powers that be with truth and speak truth to power. Some days it can be a challenge, and some days the time is now. Some Days by James Baldwin.
Some days worry, some days glad, some days more than make you mad.
some days more than shine. When you see what's coming on down the line. Some days you say, oh, not me, never. Some days you say, bless God forever. Some days you say, curse God and die. And the day comes when you wrestle with that lie. Some days tussle, then some days groan, and some days don't even leave a bone. Some days you hustle all alone. I don't know, sister, what I'm saying, nor do no man if he don't be praying. I know that love is the only answer, and the tightrope lover the only dancer. When the lover comes off the ropes today, the net which holds him is how we pray, and not to gods alone, but to each other. The falling mortal is our brother. Some days leave, some days grieve, some days you almost don't believe. Some days believe you, some days don't. Some days believe you, and you won't. Some days worry, some days mad, some days more than make you glad. Some days more than shine. Witnesses coming on down the line. Witnesses coming on down the line.
There is a familiar breeze in our cities. If you are quiet enough, you can hear the racing heartbeats pounding against chest, see the broken spirits pounding against skin. If you are quiet enough, you can hear God speaking. This is a black lullaby, where the streets hum and the people shake, a familiar time, a familiar ache, a story as old as tears. This soil we stand on is tired. There is blood in the water, and those planted aren't living much past their entrance, blooming less these days. We used to see roses growing from the concrete. Now they are lying on it. Now they are lying flush with it. Now they are lying beneath it. Our spirits are fed up with this war. They keep telling our skin this. They keep leaving our bodies for not being kind places to live. They know they are eternal, but they are tired of being sick. They wonder, how can we be so close to God and still not know who God is? We don't listen to the rain anymore. We don't lie by still waters. We can't cleanse the sins of man in this lake. This is not the psalm we had in mind. These segregated limbs, these devastating hymns, how will we get on one accord when so many are tone deaf within? We don't listen to the storm anymore. We can't hear the thunder yelling through the sky. We don't see the light in the strike. We no longer look high. This is the revelation they planned for. The ending sweeping through beginnings, stealing our children in the night, burying our children in the day. A routine as old as the sirens that took them away. In this moment, we are like moments before. And history is screaming at us. It is telling us to take a different road. This one will only end as it always has. This one will only break those who are already in cast. We are not made of stone. These temporary shells are made to break, but break on their own. We are losing the battle on our feet because we aren't seeing the one waging war beyond our bones. We know this. Like we know our own blood internalized its views of things until it programmed everything we do, controlled when we move, when we fight, how we think. It taught us to keep moving, but it didn't tell us where to go. So we march, we fight, and we do this in a circle. There is a story in the dirt. Yes, we need to remember this pain, but nothing is more blinding than hurt. So in this moment, I am choosing to be still. Like my grandmother who prays, still like my faith, like my God, still like my ancestors who knew what to do when spirit was speaking, still like the waters I am led beside, still like the front lines, still like sun up and sun down, still like my backbone, still like my foundation, still in this moment I still have hope because trusting in God is still a plan. There is a familiar breeze in our cities. If you are quiet enough, you can hear the racing heartbeats pounding against chest. See the broken spirits pounding against skin. If you are quiet enough, you can hear God speaking. Listen.
A friend of mine calls this the temple. I call it home. And I only discovered that recently when I had been very stressed out, lots of frustrations. I wasn't anywhere near a place like this. And I was walking and I got down here And it all began to fall away. Listen to the sound of that water. You know, no matter what has me riddled, rattled, bound, or clenched, this being here calms me. It's like being home. Once I get down here, right here, I'm home. So many wonders in this place, so many surprises. Go down closer to the water. Oh, it rained. Oh, mudslide. Out here is where I first saw the green heron. Right out here. Out here is where I first photographed my heron. Out here is where I photographed the egret and ducks and warblers. Out here is where I found peace. Out here is where I find peace. Out here in nature. And my photographs of birds and bees and flowers and damselflies and dragonflies are just ways that I get to take those experiences home with me and share them with others. So often I don't get the photograph, and that's okay, because I can come back. And I always see something new, always. I mean, every day it's different. And yet still it remains the same. I love it in the winter. I love it when it's pouring rain. I love being home in nature. Thanks for coming to my special place. I'm glad I could share it with you.
My first memory of the Klan, I think I was about 6, maybe 7 years old. And I was playing in the front yard of our house. We lived in a small town of about 3,900 people. Small town called Pickens, South Carolina. So I'm playing in the yard that day and I hear my mother call my name. And there was some urgency to her calling my name, so I immediately turned and I ran to the porch where my mother was standing. And when I got to her, she reached out and she grabbed me and she drew me close and she hugged me. And as I turned to look from where I ran from, all these cars drove down our streets. And there were signs that said KKK. The Klan had decided to drive down our streets in an effort to intimidate all of us. Then all the black men in the neighborhood came out on all the front porches on both sides of the streets with their shotguns and their rifles. And they waved. The Klan haven't been down that street to this day. That was my first experience with the Klan. My second experience, I was in high school, and my cousin and I were driving back from something, shopping, or maybe we went to get a burger or something. And in the car, it was me, it was him, and his then girlfriend, who's a white woman. We saw a sign, a white sign that had painted in red letters, KKK meeting, with an arrow pointing to where the location was. Well, we were really taken aback at the audacity for them to just put up a sign with their location, and we looked at each other at the same time and said, let's go. Well, his girlfriend at the time, of course, wasn't having any of it. She was like, no, don't do it. No. We're like, we're going. So we drove and we parked up on a hill. And as we were getting out of the car, she was still pleading for us to not go. And we proceeded down the hill. And of course, we hit ourselves. We went through the woods and through some thickets and brambles. And we got pretty close. We got close enough to hear that they were telling some racist jokes. They also said that George Wallace should have been president of the United States. And I remember when they were telling the jokes, I looked at my cousin and I said, I could tell better jokes than that. I mean, and they were pretty weak. But what stood out most to me were their robes. Their robes were white, of course, but they were green and red, blue, yellow, and black. I was surprised that they had black robes. So we made our way out of there, got to the car. Of course, his girlfriend was in tears. And as we were driving, the meeting broke up and we actually followed one of the cars that were there home. I know where that house is to this day. My third meeting or incident with the Klan was in college. I went to a small college in Mars Hill, North Carolina. And I was working my way through college in a restaurant that was off campus. And the owner of the restaurant came in one day and said, look, Lester, Mr. McFarland is the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And he said, as long as you're working here, he was not going to come here or I would have to fire you. And I said, are you going to fire me? And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. Just when you see him coming in, just hide. I said, okay. So the next time I saw Mr. McFarland come in the restaurant, I hid. The owner brought back his ticket. I cooked his food, didn't put anything extra in it. I just cooked his order. And when the waiter came back to grab his order, I ran from around the service bar, grabbed it, and I took it out to him, and I laid it down in front of him. His eyes were big as silver dollars. I wasn't going to back down. Now, why did I do that? Because from an early age, my first experience with the Klan, I saw men step out on the porch and they refused to be intimidated. They refused to back down. That's what we have to do today. Refuse to be intimidated and never, never back down.
Children will listen, careful the things you do. Children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ears. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you were 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You got to be careful. Listen to me. Careful of the things you say. Children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful the things you say. Children will listen.
In this moment, I am 13 years old. My shoelaces are blue to match the bleach splattered jeans I'm wearing. This is junior high, it's evening, and the movies are calling us. On a corner in St. Paul that no longer matters, parked waiting for my cousin to come get in the van, trying to cheer myself up from a tough day, I am caught being a laugher in a harmless game of Batman and Robin. I removed my glasses from my face to catch happy tears, and I remember thinking the lights were just my astigmatism because there is not much between the moment two young boys are grabbed from behind and thrown to the ground and the moment steel-toe boots meet their adolescent frames. No need to say who you are. No need to Mirandize children. No need to see them as babies. I can't remember what my parents said to do in this moment. My eyes are turning happy tears to fire. In less time than I can count, I jump out the van to do something, anything, and hands go for guns. Young boy 3 is met by 4 bodies trying to cave his soul in for checking on his little sister. My ears are ringing now. I am helpless if I want to keep breathing. Cell phone. They say to always call if something goes wrong. Voicemail. A house full of kids will keep you busy. Call the oldest. She always knows what to do. She answers, and I am only screaming. This detail won't help me tell her what happened. No words will. But she understood the sound of trauma. They said to call if something goes wrong. The training has to work now, right? Hands up. Don't be threatening. Don't get smart. Do what they tell you. But how do I do that? How do I take my skin off? How do I stop existing? You said to do what they say. I blink and we are retrieving young boys from adult back seats and adult cages with new colors on their faces and backs and sides. Nobody walks out the same. In this moment, I am not the same. Every time I see lights, I flinch. Every time my child plays with his Batman, I cringe. They took something from me that day. And I have spent my life trying to take it back. In this moment, I am teaching. A young boy isn't answering to his name during the attendance call. We don't leave our own behind, so I need to find him. Area code dial, door opens, and he comes through my classroom late with new colors on his face. This is art I have seen before. He says the lights caught him. He says he's not afraid of anything, so he didn't close his eyes. He never wants to forget what he saw. He blinks and he is retrieving the belongings they didn't take from him this time in a back alley while they laugh and tell him they will see him again soon. He knows this to be true. My entire classroom does. They are familiar. They have nicknames. The tears are burning my face again. He won't have that from me, not over routine treatment. He laughs and refuses to let fear steal it from him. It was a courageous laugh, one that made everyone join in. That moment was a decision for me that the usual had to end. In this moment, I am fighting to make my laughter more about my joy and my joy less political. To make running, swimming in my own apartment, sitting, playing Batman and Robin, biking, breathing, eating ice cream in my own living room, going to school, going home, sleeping in my bed, sleeping in the lounge at my college, walking my dog, shopping, singing happy birthday, more about existing and less about potentially losing my life. I am fighting so my children know what happy tears are, so they don't burn their cheeks. In this moment, I am choosing to not allow anyone to take anything else from me, from us, and rather we have to march or scream or fight or dream through it. I will be there. In this moment. I am making a decision. 1 to fight, 2 to win, 3 to live.
Let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the herbaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
All of us need to recognize that change depends on our action, on our attitudes, the things we teach our children.
Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught.
Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of grace and justice. Now is the time.
Full of the hope that the present has brought.
Our work is never done. When it comes to the pursuit of justice, we can afford neither complacency nor despair.
Facing the rising sun of our new day. Let's march on till victory.
With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day,
With effort, we can protect the foundation stone of our democracy, and that is the right to vote.
Thank you once again for joining us for In This Moment. The Fresh Ink series always ends with a conversation with the audience. So please share a comment or observation here on this platform or on our website to let us and the artists know your response to our work. If so moved, please consider a donation to Illusion Theater so we can continue to create new work to share with you.